After Miletus, Alexander faced his toughest challenge in Asia Minor, the heavily fortified city of Hallicarnassus. This was a major Persian naval base, and it was defended by the brilliant Greek mercenary general Memnon of Rhodes and a strong Persian garrison. So the siege in late 334 BCE would test Alexander's military engineering, his army's endurance, and his own perseverance to their limits. You can see the high walls and the citadel of Hallicarnassus here in this 3D reconstruction by Wargaming Studios. And to get a sense of the scale, just imagine a giant like Alexander the Great standing on top of those walls. You'd have a great view of the Macedonian siege towers under construction in the foreground here. And in the distance, you could see the rest of the Persian fleet anchored in the harbor. Fighting was fierce, and the Macedonians suffered many casualties. But Memnon was also a brilliant engineer, and he had anticipated Alexander's siege tactics. So he had constructed these massive towers with thick wooden pillars to just let the catapults slide off their roofs. He also launched fierce counterattacks, even at night, when Alexander's troops were exhausted. So it was a real test of wills and endurance, and in the end, only one side would emerge victorious. Who do you think it was? With Miletus secured and his own fleet largely disbanded, Alexander the Great marched south into Caria, a rugged region on the southwestern coast of Asia Minor. His primary objective was Hallicarnassus, the Carian capital. This was no ordinary city. It was one of the most formidable fortresses in the Persian Empire, a vital naval base, and the headquarters of Memnon of Rhodes, the most capable general in Persian service. The siege of Hallicarnassus would prove to be one of Alexander's longest and most difficult operations in Asia. Minor Hallicarnassus was naturally defensible and had been extensively fortified. It was protected by strong, high walls, numerous towers, and a deep defensive ditch or moat. The city possessed 2 harbors and at least 2 formidable citadels: Salmacis, on a commanding height within the city, and Zephyrion, on an island guarding one of the harbor entrances. The garrison was substantial, comprising experienced Greek mercenaries under Memnon's direct command, as well as native Carian troops and Persian soldiers led by Orontibates, the Persian satrap of Caria. Memnon, having anticipated Alexander's arrival, had made thorough preparations, stockpiling supplies and strengthening defenses. As Alexander approached, he was met by Ada of Caria. Ada was the former queen of Caria, a member of the native Hecatomnid dynasty, who had been deposed by her younger brother, Pixodorus. Pixodorus had then allied with Persia, and his son-in-law, Orontibates, was the current satrap. Ada, still holding out in the smaller fortress of Alinda, saw Alexander as a potential ally to restore her to power. In a shrewd political move, she formally adopted Alexander as her son and heir, thus giving him a legitimate claim to rule Caria. Alexander, recognizing the political and strategic value of this alliance, accepted and confirmed Ada as queen, entrusting her with the continued siege of Alinda while he focused on Hallicarnassus. The siege began in earnest. Alexander's first task was to fill in a section of the wide, deep moat that protected the city walls, allowing his siege engines to be brought forward. This work was carried out under a constant hail of missiles from the defenders. Once the moat was partially filled, massive wooden siege towers, equipped with catapults and archers, and powerful battering rams, were laboriously moved into position against the walls, particularly targeting the section near the Tripolion Gate. Memnon of Rhodes orchestrated a masterful and aggressive defense. He launched numerous sorties, both day and night, attacking the Macedonian siege works, attempting to burn the towers and rams. His troops fought with great skill and determination. The fighting was intense and bloody, with heavy casualties on both sides. On one occasion, a section of the wall near the Tripolion collapsed under the pounding of the rams. Eager Macedonian soldiers, without waiting for orders or proper support, rushed into the breach. Memnon's forces counterattacked fiercely, trapping the Macedonians and inflicting significant losses before Alexander could organize a rescue and an orderly withdrawal. This incident highlighted the dangers of ill-disciplined impetuosity, even among Alexander's veteran troops. Another dramatic incident occurred when two Macedonian soldiers from Perdiccas's brigade, who had been boasting over their wine about their prowess, decided on a whim to conduct their own private assault on the city walls. Their reckless bravery shamed other soldiers into joining them, and a spontaneous, unplanned attack developed. While they initially caused some panic among the defenders, they were soon pushed back with losses, demonstrating again the need for coordinated action. Despite these setbacks and the tenacious defense, Alexander's engineers and soldiers relentlessly continued their work. New towers were built, rams pounded the walls, and the pressure on the defenders mounted. Memnon, realizing that the main city walls were unlikely to hold out indefinitely against Alexander's superior siegecraft and the sheer determination of his attacks, began constructing a new, inner crescent-shaped wall behind the most threatened sections, buying more time. However, as the siege dragged on and Macedonian pressure intensified, Memnon recognized the strategic realities. While he might prolong the defense of the main city, its eventual fall was becoming inevitable. His primary concern was to preserve his elite mercenary forces and continue the war against Alexander by other means, particularly using the Persian fleet to disrupt Alexander's communications and incite rebellion in Greece. Therefore, he made the difficult decision to abandon the main city of Hallicarnassus. Under the cover of darkness, he withdrew his best troops and key supplies into the two formidable citadels, Salmacis and Zephyrion, which were well stocked and could be resupplied by sea. Before retreating, his forces set fire to their weapon stores, siege engines, and parts of the city near the walls to deny resources to Alexander and to cover their withdrawal. Alexander's troops entered the burning city to find the main prize secured, but the enemy's core strength, their citadels, and much of Memnon's army still intact. Capturing the citadels would require a prolonged blockade and further difficult assaults, especially since Alexander had disbanded most of his own fleet and could not effectively cut off their sea access. Unwilling to be tied down in a lengthy siege of the citadels with more pressing strategic objectives ahead, Alexander made a pragmatic decision. He ordered the captured parts of Hallicarnassus to be razed, except for the houses of those who had not resisted. He then left a substantial force of 3,000 infantry and 200 cavalry under the command of Ptolemy, not the future Diadoch and king of Egypt, but another officer to maintain the siege of the citadels. He formally entrusted the governance of Caria and the overall supervision of the ongoing siege operations to Queen Ada, his adoptive mother. The siege of Hallicarnassus, lasting several months, was a qualified success for Alexander. He had captured the main city and a key Persian naval base, further securing the coastline of Asia Minor. However, Memnon of Rhodes, his most formidable opponent in the region, had escaped with the core of his professional army, free to continue the fight using Persian naval supremacy in the Aegean. The difficult and costly siege underscored the challenges Alexander faced when confronted by a determined and well-led defense in a strongly fortified position. It also demonstrated his flexibility in adapting his plans and his skill in using political alliances, like the one with Ada, to his advantage. With Caria mostly under control, Alexander got ready to lead his army east for a winter campaign along Asia Minor's southern coast. Absolutely loved having you here. If you enjoyed our video, smash that like button and hit subscribe to join our awesome community. You may also suggest topics for the future vlog.